I'm not entirely sure why this microphone wasn't working yesterday. Not entirely sure why it's working today, but as you can kind of tell by my energy levels, not entirely curious to find out why or why not it is working or will continue to work. Just going to hope that this continues to work going forward. But the San Francisco Giants lose to the Minnesota Twins in 10 innings, 7-6 here on Mother's Day. If you haven't called your mom, if you haven't texted your mom, go do that right now. And there was a couple stories or main storylines throughout the course of today's game. The first being Heliot Ramos being able to bounce back from the costly base running mistake that he made during yesterday's game. For those of you who need a refresher, the Giants trailed by 1 run in the top of the 8th inning. Ramos was standing 90 feet away, and up to that point, he had been responsible for the Giants' only 3 hits of the game. He had a homer in that game, at what point was his 6th of the year. But with the Twins playing their infield in, he gets back picked. The Giants rally in the 8th inning is killed. They're ultimately not able to score the tying run in the 8th, and they're ultimately not able to do that in the 9th inning either. And Ramos had a bit of redemption today. He reaches base 4 times. He drives in 4 runs. He had a sacrifice fly in the 1st inning. He had a 2-run homer in the 4th inning, his 7th homer of the year. He gets hit by a pitch. He draws a walk. So it's ultimately, and in addition to the offense as well, had 2 diving plays in left field. So it ends up being one of Ramos's best offensive games, or not even just offensive, one of his best all-around games over the course of this entire season. I don't have his game logs in front of me right now, but there's probably not a lot of games that come close to this as far as a two-way effort. So if that's the main, or if that's one of the storylines of today's game, rather, the second was the Giants' inability to hold on to the leads that they established. Going into the 6th inning, the bottom of the 6th inning, they were leading 4-3. Landon Roop had allowed 3 runs over the course of 5 innings. In enters Eric Miller, who up to this point had only allowed 1 earned run over 12 1/3 innings. He faces 4 batters. He's not able to retire any of the 4 batters that he faced. His afternoon ends when he allows an RBI single to Royce Lewis, who ties up the game at 4 apiece. In enters Camilo Doval, who inherits bases loaded, no outs, and considering the situation that he inherited, he did a very fine job of being able to put out that fire. Harrison Bader did drive in the go-ahead run with a broken bat, bases loaded, ground out that I don't know who was on third, but it gave the Twins at the time a 5-4 lead. But Doval ensures that that's the only run that scored and gets out of that inning with the Giants only trailing by 1 run. Fast forward to the bottom of the 10th inning, they were leading 6-5 after they took the lead in the top of the 10th inning when David Villar had his own RBI ground out, Ryan Walker on the mound, and ultimately they aren't able to hold that lead. The tying run scores when Ty France was at third. There's a grounder hit to Matt Chapman. He's not able to field it cleanly. If he fields it cleanly, they're going to throw out Ty France at home plate by a dozen or so feet. But Chapman's unable to field it cleanly. Instead of throwing home, he has to throw to first to get the guaranteed out. And then a couple batters later, Deshaun Kiersey Jr. Sends the Twins fans home happy with an opposite field RBI single. Ryan Walker ends up blowing the save, but save situations in extra innings when you have the automatic runner on second base they're more difficult to evaluate than a clean inning. So the Giants again finish this road trip with a 2-4 record. Johan Duran gets the win. Ryan Walker gets the loss. There is no save. Time of game 2:57. They now go back to San Francisco for a 3-game set against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Their first opportunity to face another NL West rival this season. The other team that they haven't faced this season yet also being the Dodgers, who they will play in June. And as we've mentioned, kind of in passing here, but this is a stacked NL West. The Diamondbacks are one of those teams that are right in the thick of things as far as being competitive in this division. I'm not sure off the top of my head if they will have the opportunity to face Corbin Burns. Actually, I think Corbin Burns might be on the injured list, but I know that they have Merrill Kelly going for them tomorrow, and Merrill Kelly has always had fantastic numbers against the Giants, so it'll be another early test to see how the Giants stack up against another NL West divisional foe. The last time they faced a team in the NL West, well, there was the Rockies series when they took 3-4, but the last time they faced an NL West team that was actually competing was against the Padres down in San Diego. They were swept in that 2-game series. And speaking of the Rockies, manager Bud Black was also dismissed several minutes before recording this. I don't know what their record is. It's not good, and that's The firing of Bud Black ultimately isn't going to lead to much as far as the results this season. It is still without diving too into the weeds of the Rockies, they are still a very fundamentally flawed baseball team, and not entirely sure when they're going to turn things around, if it is sometime in the near future.